Andre Russell offered some birthday gifts towards the end. He takes off in a manner we've not seen too often, and that helps KKR finish on 179 against Gujarat Titans at Eden Gardens. On Visit Saudi presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Time Out. It's quite an innings to look back upon because KKR went all guns blazing in the power play. Gujarat Titans locked them down in the middle, and then you saw some runs towards the end. How much is that 180 enough? Will Gujarat Titans get the win? Have KKR posted enough? Let's put all those questions to Tom, Moody and Matt Roller. Tom, while Russell had those runs at the end, from the KKR perspective, this innings was largely all about Rahmanullah Gurbaz.
Yeah, Gurbaz was brilliant. You know, he sort of played as we know he can play, that dynamic role at the top of the order. He can take on sort of fearlessly the quick bowlers in the power play. And the intriguing matchup is him against his, Afghanistan teammates in Noor Ahmed and Rashid Khan, and particularly severe on Rashid Khan, which is interesting because you watch the Afghanistan players play against each other, not just in the IPL, but you generally get more of them playing against each other in other leagues, and they just take each other on fearlessly. They don't really care, the reputation that Rashid's got or Muhammad Nabi's got or whoever it might be, and they just go full steam ahead at them. And, it was a great knock from him, and it actually deserved to push an extra 19 runs to get past 100 because he had plenty of time, given that he only faced, 39 balls.
Comes all the more special when you think about the fact that barring that one half century, which was right at the start of the season, first week of April at RCB, he went through a few bad games and then wasn't playing. Then you come back and turn up and how?
Yeah, well, I suppose to look back on what Gurbaz was doing towards the start of the season, he almost didn't play in this same way. It almost looked like it was a bit, maybe the pressure of this tournament was on him a little bit more. Whereas today, I suppose, coming back knowing that Jason Roy's probably going to come back into the team regardless what happens, it almost felt like a bit of a shot to nothing. And with that, having faced those two wrist spinners before as well, it felt as though it was a sort of perfect storm for him to be able to come in and play in the style that he plays in when he's at his best, which is attacking, taking bowlers down, looking to score every ball rather than the conservative version of Gurbaz that we saw maybe earlier in the season. So yeah, it looked like he was back towards his best today, and definitely going to be some interesting questions now for KKR as to whether they make yet another change to their opening combination as and when Roy is fit again.
They do love doing that, changing, chopping, especially at the top of the order. When Roy is fit, you could consider batting Roy and Gurbaz together. There is a way of fitting them together.
Now, the problem is it's an overseas slot, isn't it? So who's the overseas player that's going to go missing? Do they sort of lose the all-round skill of David Visa? Is a possibility. But look, again, I'm not sure if there's room for two overseas openers. I think it's great what Gurbaz has done, and I think that's a conversation that they'll need to have after this match. But there's bigger conversations to be had, I would have thought, with regards to their top order and, again, how they arrange their batting lineup and the deployment of their players. To see Shardul Thakur come in at number 3 was extraordinary. When you've got Venkatesh Iyer, who has thrived at that number 3 position, scored 100 already this IPL, scored an 80 already this IPL, back in form, a prize asset for you, and you're starving him of that opportunity to go out there and continue that form. It's nearly like that, even though it was a 4-ball period that Tucker was out there, it nearly looked like it sort of threw the momentum and mindset of Venkatesh Iyer. When he came to the crease, he had no rhythm or any sort of grip of the game.
All the more baffling given that your last outing was the first time you had what you would call a complete batting performance, where it wasn't just 1 or 2 freak innings. The top 4, all of them contributed in their own way. And then the guy you're sending out is the guy who hasn't been fit for some time.
Yeah, I suppose the only sort of, just to sort of play devil's advocate and try and work out what they might have been doing, maybe they're thinking he's stronger against the seamers than the spinners or something like that, and thought maybe Gujarat would hold back the spinners for the death. But I agree with Tom. It sort of feels like trying to, it's not even a particular area of weakness they're looking to improve upon, having had their 3 and 4 actually come into some form in the last couple of weeks. Venkatesh has done really well, and Nitish Rana has been pretty solid as well through that middle period. So it did seem like a slightly baffling move, and as Mood says, it's something that actually dented the innings as a whole as well.
Yeah, he's also not. It's not like it's a role that he's familiar with, as being thrown up the top to have this injection as a designated pinch hitter. If there's some sort of history of success there, well, yeah, okay, rightio, well, I can half get it, but you'd still rather send in your premium Indian number 3 to take advantage of a good surface and a good start. But I think that sort of not derailed, but it created a little bit of confusion in that middle phase, and then they caught up at the end, but still, I think they're 20-30 runs short.
So the first breaks on that KKR innings were put to some degree by KKR themselves with that decision, but then came a proper breakdown in the speed, and let's break that phase of the game down. Both Josh Little and Noor Ahmed, Tom, those figures in themselves look brilliant, but in the context that they started bowling, how would you rate those performances?
Oh, they both bowled beautifully. Again, I quite like the variety that Noor brings to that team, and he's bowling well with confidence now. You can just see with his body language, he feels like he belongs out there. He's only a young spinner as well, so it takes time. But he certainly has got more presence out in the middle than what we saw when he first started playing franchise cricket, and let alone IPL cricket. Josh Little looks like he's getting better and better with the more exposure and experience that he's getting. And again, I think he's managed well in that group. I think Gujarat Titans are not too dissimilar to Chennai Super Kings, the way they seem to get the best out of their bowlers.
And such an unusual role, right, for Josh Little. Used to being more of a top and tail kind of bowler, but today deployed in the middle.
Yeah, if you look at what he does for Ireland, he'll generally take the new ball or bowl 2 overs in the power play, then he'll come back for 1 in the middle to sort of try and take a wicket through the middle, and then bowl 1 at the death as well. Whereas today, didn't come on until after the power play, and then bowled 3 straight and had that big impact with 2 wickets in a single over. And yeah, bowled with really good pace as well. I don't think we've seen Little reach 145 yet in the IPL, but that was, he gave it a real nudge today. He has that sort of nice whippy wrist action, which I'm sure he would have worked on with Ashish Nehra as well at Gujarat. And yeah, he seems to have been a real breakthrough for them, I suppose, this season. They wouldn't necessarily, looking at the squad at the start of the season, you wouldn't have said he would be involved maybe quite as much as he has been. I think he's played 6 out of their 8 games maybe. And yeah, I think he's going to be a big miss next week when he goes to play some ODIs against Bangladesh in Chelmsford, which Ireland will need him to perform in, because they need to win that series to reach the World Cup.
Yes, and so good were those performances from Josh Little and Noor Ahmed that they managed to cover for a rare off day for Rashid Khan. Rashid Khan going for 54 in his 4. That's only the 2nd time ever that he's gone for more than 50 in an IPL innings. It also happened to be his 100th IPL game, but a broader story perhaps here, Tom, that you just look at the names we're discussing today. Rashid has reached 100 caps. You've got Ramanullah Gurbaz, Noor Ahmed, Josh Little from Ireland, David Visa from Namibia. All of these are not just making IPL teams, they're contributing to IPL teams, which shows a bit of a progression in itself.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see many countries represented, and I think what it also shows is that how franchise cricket is growing globally, and how these players are getting, I suppose, their experiences and getting their trainer wheels off in preparation for the big dance. And the IPL is the big dance. So a lot of them have played a lot of T20 cricket outside of the IPL, and getting fast-tracked in this format of the game. So it is great to see, so many different countries represented and doing well.
With that in mind, would you say Rashid is probably a bit of a trailblazer, given he's played 100 games now. I guess at the time you guys originally picked him,
Yeah.
Would have been seen as a bit of a gamble, despite the fact he clearly had this huge potential.
Yeah.
So for him to have sort of led that way, especially for the Afghan players with 3 involved today, it feels like he has been.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he has been, I suppose, the pioneer out of Afghanistan and I suppose other countries that don't have the same status globally, and to do well early on and can sustain that has been really important, and I think it's given confidence to others. But I think also still a big believer in that the number of franchise tournaments that we see around the world now is the best learning ground for all these players that gain the experience and develop their skill to be able to suddenly turn up here to the IPL, which is the toughest tournament by a long way, and perform.
Right, so getting a focus back on the game just as the chase is almost about to get underway. What do you make of that score? I know we had looked at the totals and they'd been much higher, all 200 plus. Did rain play any part? How do you assess this target of 180 that KKR have put up?
I think it's 20 or 30 short of what it should have been. I think it's a terrific batting surface. Yeah, look, it did a little bit the first couple of overs. There's a little bit of swing, but Mohammad Shami's going to swing at most venues in most conditions. He's a handful. But yeah, I think it's well under par.
So the prediction would be a Gujarat win? A
comfortable win, yeah.
I think KKR, just with their spinners, will stay in the game for a while, but I agree that Gujarat will win. Maybe, let's say, we've not had a last over thriller for a little while, so maybe we'll get one today.
Well, that'll ensure this game goes on well into the start of the second one. We will, as a programming reminder, we will be here right after the toss of that second game, which is Delhi Capitals against Sunrisers Hyderabad. So be sure to catch the build-up of that. You can continue to follow this game's action, of course, through the ESPNcricinfo mobile app, which you can download off the Play Store and the App Store. So we will be back at 7 p.m., regardless, setting up Delhi versus Hyderabad. So be sure to join us then on Visit Saudi, presents ESPNcricinfo T20 Time Out.